clean energy is another sub-area of interest that you're focusing on. What does that capture or include?
Yeah, so the way we're setting it up long term is to invest in the grid, because the grid is very, very old. So it's the companies involved in that sort of transmission. We're also looking at nuclear here as well, because we think nuclear, basically the life extends of these plants. As we move to more solar and wind and less gas and coal, basically the intermittency risks increase. And so nuclear, we think, becomes even more important, sort of 20% of the energy mix today in the US. And that's really important to have that sort of base load power, not coming from wind and solar. And then the last piece is renewables. Renewables we've been pretty cool on for a period of time now, because basically solar and wind has been really difficult. Although those industries are growing still, competitive pressures, particularly Chinese providers in solar, have really driven down price. And then in the wind side, there's been a lot of sort of issues coming out of COVID around supply chains and so forth that's been a tough place to be. But there's still some companies in those areas that we like, and actually they're taking a lot of share as well. So renewables good long term, but just in the immediate term a little bit tougher. So really the focus at the moment has been on the grid companies and the nuclear side of things, which have been quite good.
So nuclear can be seen as quite a controversial topic. Why do you like it? Why is it part of the portfolio?
Yeah, so as I was sort of just saying about the intermittency issues with wind and solar, we expect will get worse as there's less coal and gas. So that'd be point one. Point two is that we're actually seeing governments extend the life of their nuclear everywhere except for Germany, but even the Japanese are coming back in, which is interesting. And they're doing that because they can see the same thing that we see. So basically, they need to balance the grid, out to meet their net zero goals by 2050. It's going to be very, very difficult to do that without nuclear. The other thing that we're seeing, which is quite interesting as well with nuclear, is it was part of the US Inflation Reduction Act. So the US government's explicitly saying we want generators to invest in nuclear and we will support the nuclear power price. So basically taking the bear case off the table for a lot of these companies with this nuclear production tax credit. So that we think is a step change as well. So there's a number of things to sort of suggest that governments are behind it. Corporates are actually behind it as well. So there's a lot of corporates actually signing up for nuclear power to power their data centres. And these are some of the most ambitious sort of net zero companies out there, basically US West Coast tech companies. So there's a lot changing in this space.